محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن للمتقين مفازا حدائق وأعنابا وكواعب أترابا وكأسا دهاقا لا يسمعون فيها لغوا ولا كذابا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن للمتقين مفازا حدائق وأعنابا وكواعب أترابا وكأسا دهاقا لا يسمعون فيها لغوا ولا كذابا جزاء من ربك عطاء حسابا. رب السماوات والأرض وما بينهما الرحمن لا يملكون منه خطابا. يوم يقوم الروح والملائكة صفا لا يتكلمون إلا من أذن له إلا من فمن شاء اتخذ إلى ربه مآبا إنا أنذرناكم عذابا قريبا يوم ينظر المرء ما قدمت يداه ويقول الكافر يا ليتني كنت ترابا صدق الله العلي العظيم. الفاتحة. تسبق الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Honorable Judge, Maulana Sheikh Al-Halabi, the respected audience in person and on Facebook, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I want to second Sister Maryam in sending my sincere condolences to our Savior, Imam Mahdi. May Allah hasten his safe appearance and return. And I'm leaving with you two weighty things. As long as you hold into them both, you will never go astray. The Book of God and my family. Indeed, God, the all-attentive, the all-aware, has told me that these two will not separate until they reach me at the pond in heaven. These are the words of the Prophet of all words, Muhammad, peace be upon him, on the day of Ghadir. The messenger of God then took the hand of Imam Ali, raised it to everyone to see, and declared 3 times, so for whomever am the leader, Ali is the leader. So for whomever I am the leader, Ali is the leader. So for whomever I am the leader, Ali is the leader. O God, love those who love him, detest those who detest him, and turn the truth with him, whichever way he turns. The virtues of Imam Ali are too numerous to be encompassed in one speech or several events. His mastery and expertise are not restricted to a particular knowledge or area or field of expertise. However, his knowledge is evidently represented in the realm of fiqh, jurisdiction, and his numerous legal traditions have highly enriched our legal heritage. With the help of the Honorable Judge Salami and Sheikh Al-Halabi, and your questions as well, your interaction is very important. We hope to highlight some of the eternal images in Imam Ali's life to benefit us in this life and the hereafter. Today's event is an open discussion, so please be engaged and let us learn together about the life of our Imam. With that being said, I give the floor to the Honorable Judge Salam Salami. So please welcome him with Allah, salawat ala Muhammad wa ahli.
I'll make the presentation here.
Oh, okay, sure. Thank you.
Thank you, dear brother.
Thank
And thank you, Maryam, for the kind introduction. Your Eminence, Sheikh Muhammad Ali Halabi, dear brothers and sisters, good evening to all of you. And Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين وأصحابه المنتجبين والتابعين لهم بإحسان إلى قيام يوم الدين وعلى رسل الله أجمعين. وهنيئا لمن ركع وسجد وفاز بالشهادة وهو يصلي. Dear brothers and sisters, as we celebrate the profound spirituality of the few remaining days of this holy month, I salute you with God's grace and peace and hope that you are all staying healthy and safe. When the subject matter is about fairness, equality, and justice, there is not a better person who embodies and manifests these values like Imam Ali alayhi salam. And as my dear brother who preceded me stated, no time and place can capture the essence of Ali bin Abi Talib alayhi salam. I think it's just a little. Okay. The most injustice people do unto Imam Ali alayhi salam, in particular Muslims, is to confine him to the Islamic world. Because Imam Ali was not just an individual. He was a rare phenomenon, an institution. And as the Prophet, peace be upon him, described him, he was the gate to the world of knowledge and wisdom. A fact that was not lost on the world when the United Nations Secretary General Kofi Annan in 2002 declared in a special United Nations resolution that Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam is the fairest governor who appeared during human history after Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Imam Ali's demeanor, ethics, morals, asceticism, teachings, wisdom, knowledge, conduct, rulings, and instructions to his appointees and governors tell a story of an exceptional, unique, and a special leader, and express values capable of universal application. Justice to Imam Ali begins and ends with total submission and obedience to God. Taqwa Allah wa ra'sul hikmah makhafatullah. And it is premised in a conviction that all men are created equal, and the noblest of whom is the most God-fearing ones. To Imam Ali, the entire human race can be divided into two kinds: brothers in faith or equals in humanity. Allah created you free. Do not accept to be a slave to others. This belief system is a necessary prerequisite to establish a world of equality and fairness. If one is guided by these principles, one is liable to serve the best interest of pure justice. Of course, there were many attempts during the evolution of human history to capture the essence of justice and equality, but no one came close to the decisiveness, firmness, or impartiality of Imam Ali bin Abi Talib alayhi salam. The Magna Carta, or the Great Charter of 1215, signed by King John of England, which declared the sovereign meaning the king, which declared the sovereign subject to the rule of law, and provided the foundation for individual rights in the Anglo-American jurisprudence, and has evolved into the laws that we are governed here by today, continue to struggle with legislative processes that must balance between competing special interests, economic considerations, lobbyists, and individual agendas that adversely impact equality, impartiality, and fairness. Such competing factors and elements did not exist and do not exist in the world of Ali bin Abi Talib. Imam Ali's worldview is shaped by a firm and unwavering belief that this world is a temporary one, and one's actions must be solely motivated and guided by the principle that the ultimate and real rewards come to humans in the thereafter. A person indoctrinated in these values and this system of belief is bound to implement the justice in its purest form, because then all other motivations become insignificant and miscellaneous distractions. Such is the world of Imam Ali, a world of asceticism, contentment, a world in which justice prevails and everyone rises or falls on their own merits, and everyone is guaranteed the right to live free with human dignity and respect, without fear of oppression, discrimination, poverty, hunger, and prejudice. To live by the doctrine of a man who upholds these values, a man who will not compromise these principles, is indeed a heavenly experience that one can have on this earth. Salamullahi alayka ya Imam Allah, ya Ya'sub ad-Din. Shukran, wassalamu alaykum. And I believe now we can start the next segment of the program, and I encourage you to be seriously engaged in the discussion and conversation. Thank you. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Test it. Test it.
Okay, we can start with questions if anyone has any questions about the jurisdiction system. What's the comparison between the current system? I guess I will address this first question.
Sure.
So, can we draw a line between the current practice of the jurisdiction system that we live in the West, in America in specific, and the way that Imam Ali practiced the law?
There's a basic difference. I think both systems the ultimate objective of both systems is to reach to a just verdict, a just conclusion. However, each takes a different route, different path to get there. In the way I have just mentioned, there is no plea bargaining, there's no compromise. There is the only interest is to serve the interest of pure justice regardless of all other considerations. In the civil and the Anglo-American jurisprudence that came back from the Magna Carta, as I indicated, in 1215, and it has evolved, it has the same noble objective, it has the same noble aim, and it has the same, it seeks the same end noble result, except that in order to get there, you have to take a path where you have to have a legislative process, because as you know, judges and jurists cannot legislate from the bench. It has to come from Congress, or in the case, if we're talking regional level, the county commission or the city council or any other legislative body. They make the laws, they formulate the laws. And as you know, that there are so many considerations that come into place that did not exist and will not exist in the world of Imam Ali. So it's much easier to get to pure justice with Imam Ali than it is with the civil jurisprudence system that we have, although both of them seek to reach a totally just verdict.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
عظم الله لكم الأجر بهذه المناسبة العظيمة.
عظم الله أجركم.
شهادة الإمام علي عليه السلام. دائما بيربطنا سؤال نحن بعظمة الإمام علي عليه السلام وبحكمة الإمام علي. ولكن بياخذنا السؤال نحن على مكان آخر. دائما نسمع بالمحافل الدولية بأنه الإمام علي مثلا كوفي عنان مثل ما تفضلت هلا قلت بالأمم المتحدة وحتى بالجامعات البريطانية أو كذا، فبعض القضاة أو بعض المحامين إنه يقروا نهج البلاغة. هون بيخطر ببالي سؤال إنه هل إنه القضاة ليس يعني بمعنى القضاة بأمريكا أو بشكل عام القضاة هل ينظرون أو يحكموا أحيانا أو يطلعون على حكم الإمام علي على مر التاريخ وعلى هذا الإنسان العادل اللي كان مثلا موجود على مر التاريخ والناس بتتماثل فيه؟ يعني هل أنت واحد من الناس مثلا، وليس سؤال شخصي يعني سؤال عام، هل يعني بقضية ما أو بأحد القضايا مثلا لجأت لعدالة الإمام علي وحكمت من خلالها؟ والسلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام. يعني نحن مثل ما قلنا أنه الإمام علي عليه السلام من الصعب أنه تحتويه بزمان ومكان. الإمام علي كان ظاهرة فريدة يعني، والرسول صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم كان توصيفه للإمام علي أنه هو باب مدينة العلم. وأنا برأيي أنه يعني مدينة مش مقصود فيها مدينة، باب العالم، يعني باب عالم العلم. الإمام علي عليه السلام يعني مثل ما قلنا كان يعني ملم بشتى أنواع العلوم، ومن الصعب احتوائه بزمان ومكان. هلا للإجابة على سؤالك، نعم القضاء العالمي يعني ومنهم القضاء الفرنسي بشكل خاص وبعض القضاء الأوروبي يعتمدون يعني على سن القوانين وتشريعها على يعني عدة مصادر، ومن هذه المصادر يعني مصدر الإمام علي، يعني رسالة الإمام علي بالقرن السابع لمالك الأشتر لا زالت إلى اليوم تدرس بجامعة السوربون وبعدد كبير من الجامعات الفرنسية والجامعات الأوروبية لحتى تكون نهج للقادة القادمين والمستقبليين. ولهالسبب حتى بتلاحظ بالأنظمة الغربية بما فيهم النظام الغربي الأهم اللي هو بالولايات المتحدة الأمريكية، يعني معظم البرامج الاجتماعية وبرامج المساعدات للطبقات يعني الأقل حظا أو الأقل ثراء وهذا كلها مستقاة من جسم من هذه العلوم، وجزء كبير من هذه العلوم بيجي من هذيك الحقبة ومن هذيك الفترة ومن تعليمات الإمام علي. هلأ يمكن مش بشخص الإمام علي كشخص، ولكن من مبادئ المستقاة من الإمام علي عليه السلام، يعني مبدأ العدالة، مبدأ المساواة، مبدأ الحرية، مبدأ يعني حتى وقت اللي صارت الرئيس لينكولن وقت اللي أعطى حقوق يعني أصحاب البشرة السوداء أو البشرات الملونة بأمريكا، كانوا عم يستقوا من هالمنهج هذا ومن هالمنهج هذا. مش بالضروري انه يعني بنقول نحن انه هن راحوا واقتفوا اثر الامام علي بهالموضوع هذا، ولكن المبادئ المستوحاة من تشريع الامام علي، من رسالته لمالك الاشتر بحكم مصر والى اخره، بتلاحظ انه كل هذه مستقاة من هالجسم هذا اللي هو جسم يعني متكامل من كل الدول ومن كل الحضارات. والوقت اللي كان عم ينحكى فيه بصراع الحضارات بوقت من الأوقات، كان في جزء تاني من العالم عم يحكي بحوار الأديان وبحوار الحضارات. وحوار الأديان هو حوار الحضارات هو مرتكز على مبادئ يعني مستقاة من الأديان السماوية الثلاثة. ونحن بنعرف أنه جزء كبير من الدين الإسلامي مورس وطبق عن طريق الإمام علي وعن طريق أحكامه.
If you permit me, would you be able to rephrase your answer in Arabic? So for those who...
I just spoke in Arabic.
In English. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah. The question was, does judicial systems and civil jurisprudence in countries follow Imam Ali's principles and teachings? And the answer was yes, not necessarily quoting Imam Ali as an individual, but following the principles of Imam Ali and following the principles and the rules and the rulings that and the teachings that he had to his governors, as I indicated in my opening remarks, to his governors and to his administrative appointees and to his judges, to be fair to everyone. He divided people to two kinds. And if you notice that all the laws today and all of the legislations that espouses to create equality, they tell you that we are not going to discriminate against you on the basis of race, gender, national origin, and so on and so forth. All of this is based on what Imam Ali has declared so many years ago in the 7th century, when he said people are two kinds, a brother in faith or an equal in humanity. So humanity comes to play a role, and if all of these Western, if you want to talk about Western civilization and Western culture, that is attempting to reach that level of equality, goes to that principle that Imam Ali has established so long ago when he said that الناس صنفان أخ لك في الدين أو نظير لك في الخلق. So Imam Ali legislated that you treat all others, whether you agree with them or you don't agree with them, whether they look like you or they do not look like you, or whether they subscribe to your faith or they subscribe to another religion, you have to treat them equally and you have to be just. And if a Muslim commits an atrocity or commits wrong against a non-Muslim, you have to rule for pure justice. And if you notice that all of our laws, all the jurisprudence today is trying and attempting to reach to that noble objective that was established by Imam Ali. So definitely, Imam Ali is an institution to be followed. Alaykum as-salam.
First of all, I really do appreciate you brought up the points about the Magna Carta and the practical application, how you actually, in the courtroom, where you try your hardest to try to implement the justice of Imam Ali. My question is, as just kind of an ordinary citizen, if you will, is how can we apply the justice of Ali in our own lives? Not necessarily in the courtroom, but necessarily in regular life.
It's not hard to do that. As I have mentioned before, that humans have a set of values. And those set of values, they can become universally applied to the entire world if one applies himself toward justice. And it's common sense and common knowledge that you don't do wrong unto others. If you mistreat someone, it behoves you to apologize to that person and to try to correct the wrong. It becomes a way of life. It becomes a style of life. If you are deep into Imam Ali, and I hope that all of you are, then you will learn from his conduct, from his ethics, from his morals, from the way he conducted himself in public and privately, to be pious, to be faithful, to be honest, not to betray, and to do right by others, and to treat others as you would others to treat you. Basically, these are concepts and these are values that if you incorporate within your own conduct, and if you try to shape your personality to be able to follow this lead, then you will have applied what Imam Ali has preached so long ago. Wa alaikum assalam.
So my question comes from a more historical standpoint. So as you said before, that Imam Ali was the most just human in humanity, in the history of humanity. But before that, before Imam Ali and Prophet Muhammad, what would people have been following, or which governor would have been the just one?
To answer your question, I believe that we follow, as humans, we follow the teachings from Nabina Adam alayhi salam, from the dawn of humanity, and everything that Adam has started, of course, except for that one chapter when they listened to the temptations and they had eventually to leave paradise. With that exception, I think the teachings, God's teachings, has always been consistent, has always been in line with the eternal struggle between good and bad, between good and evil, continues on until the present day. So there are two paths that you can go by, and if you follow the path of the prophets, starting with Nabina Adam until now. So before Nabina Adam, يعني إذا بدنا نرجع نحن كمان الإمام علي عليه السلام كان دستوره, his constitution is the Quran, and the Quran بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل آمنا بالله وما أنزل إلينا وما أنزل على إسماعيل وإسحاق ويعقوب والأسباط وما أوتي موسى وما أوتي عيسى وما أوتي النبيون من ربهم لا نفرق بين أحد منهم ونحن له مسلمون. يعني بمعنى أنه نحن له مسلمون, أنه نحن we submit to God, we submit to God's rules, and we submit to God's, we are obedient to God. And if anyone who reads the Quran or reads the Old Testament or the Bible will see these values. So it is consistent throughout history. Wa alaikum salam.
She doesn't want to speak.
Okay, just, yeah.
So we've heard in the past about Sharia law and all that stuff, and I don't need to introduce this question as a...
That's fine, that's fine. Feel free to ask the way you want. You don't have to polish it or dress it.
Okay, good. So how are we as Muslim in the community here living, in the United States, and we're all, we're trying to be good American citizens and abide by the law, and we're always, or in the past it's been directed to us that we're trying to implement Sharia law because we're trying to live our lives as good Muslims, and we're implementing Imam Ali's rule and all that. So in my opinion, it's not a valid, something that they're insulting us with, or they're accusing us of. It's not a valid issue. But from your point of view, how do you look at that?
Let me answer. I'm glad you asked this question, and let me reflect on this question that you just asked. During my judicial campaign, I went around and I knocked on doors and I talked to voters and I talked to citizens. I probably visited more than 80% of Dearborn residents. And at times people would come out and, as they say, ignorance is man's worst enemy. And I was faced with questions that, okay, if we vote for you and you are elected as a judge, are you going to apply Sharia law? And my answer to them was, what is Sharia law? What do you know about Sharia law? And most of the times there's a dead silence.
Unfortunately, the media and the way things are portrayed through the media, and people catch only the headlines or catch only the operative words. They hear of Sharia law, but they don't even know what Sharia law is. And then, when they asked me that question, I answered with a question. I said, what do you know about Sharia law? But in Sharia law, this is a very lengthy discussion and very complicated discussion that we cannot just, talk about it on your porch. But I'll be more than happy to give you adequate time to explain that to you. But if I was going to answer the question, in few words, I will tell you, we have a system, and if I am elected a judge, I will take an oath. And my oath would be to uphold the Constitution of the United States, to uphold the Constitution of the state of Michigan, and to uphold the charter of the city of Dearborn. And in our Sharia, if you are talking about Sharia, in our Sharia dictates to us to apply the law of the land where we live and to govern, but not to violate that and not to become subject or become vulnerable to special interests or to twist the law in order to gain, to achieve worldly gains. So yes, I will uphold the Constitution and I will uphold the law. And in our faith, I just as an example, it is prohibited for us to drink alcohol, but it is permissible here. And if somebody comes before me and he is charged with drinking and driving, I will rule on that case, and I will rule according to what the law tells me to do. I will not legislate from the bench, I will just apply the law. But just to reflect on that, a lot of people who really ask this question and they talk about Sharia, they don't even know what Sharia is. They just hear these words on the CNN headlines or any other news source or news media that they listen to, and they think that Sharia is an evil thing, it's a bad thing. But it is not. Sharia is only a source of legislation or a source of law that people follow, and if you happen to be in a Muslim country, you follow these laws. But even in our countries, a country like Lebanon, the source of legislation is not Sharia. It's a cosmopolitan country. It's a different faith and different religions, and people subscribe to different notions. Some people even subscribe to no religion at all. But if they are going to follow Imam Ali, then they have to be just to these people, just like they are just to Muslims. They have to rule on the particular issue that is before the judge, and the judge has to be fair, and he has to treat people equally without any religious or race or color or ethnicity or national origin or a creed, which is a part of our Constitution, which was declared, as I indicated, by Imam Ali in the 7th century.
Wonderful answer, comment, and I hope this message that you just elaborated on reach out to wider audience.
I hope so.
Because we need someone like you to enlighten others and us about the real message that we have to be obligated to as Muslims and mainly as Americans who live in the West.
Yes,
So
thank you.
so much.
My pleasure.
Assalamu alaikum, General.
Alaikum salam.
Thank you for coming out here today. I just had a question. In the beginning, you stated that Imam Ali had a few rules, like you treat them fairly, doesn't matter what religion, what color they are. Personally, do you feel like these rules are being followed, and if not, what steps can we take to follow these rules?
I think to a great extent they are being followed. Now, of course, every rule comes with its exceptions. But as I indicated, the objective is to get to that point, is to get to pure justice. And as you know, in a world basically that has so many competing factors and so many competing objectives and personal agendas and individual objectives, a lot of things get in the way. What distinguishes Imam Ali alayhi salam from any jurist is Imam Ali paid no heed, and he held these competing factors. He did not hold them or regard them with any value. His ultimate goal, and if people reach that point, if people reach to the point that my ultimate goal is to please my Creator and to do what my Creator has asked me to do, this ultimate justice will prevail. But as you know, in the world today, that is easier said than done, because most of the times, if you talk about the legislature that they legislate the laws, when they are writing these laws, they are subject to all kinds of external pressure, and sometimes they do things just to appease others or special interest groups or outspoken groups. And then when the legislation comes down and becomes a law, a judge is obligated to follow that law. He cannot legislate, or she cannot legislate from the bench. So then you have these distortions in justice. But the noble objective is always the same. Everybody wants to serve the best interest of justice. It just differs on which path you take to get there, and whether we are, as humans, able to get there. I think people in general, fundamentally, they try to do the best they can, but the question is our best good enough? That is the question, and we hope that at some point in time it will be good enough.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
عندي سؤال. السلام عليكم مساء الشيخ. مشكورين على هذه الندوة وعلى شكرا للقيمين عليها جميعا. بس دائما نحن نطرح كلمة من زمن، يعني عم نطرح دائما عم نرجع نرددها. مثل ما أنا سألت جورج شخصية الإمام علي شخصية عالمية، شخصية مميزة. هذا لا يمنع إنه نحن نحكي عن سيرة الإمام علي فيما بيننا. يعني قد ما نقرأ على الإمام علي وقد ما نبحث عن الإمام علي عم بيضل نحن ناقصنا. ولكن بالحد الأدنى إنه بنعرف تقريبا حياة الإمام علي وسيرة الإمام علي. دائما نحن نطرح إنه يكون في حوار مع الآخرين. دائما
ما عندوش مايك.
خلينا نتعرف عن شخصية الإمام علي للناس الأخرى، يعني من غير الطائفة الشيعية. أنت بدك تقول لي إنه شخصية الإمام علي شخصية عالمية والكل قاري عنها موجود، بس نحن لازم دائما نضطر للحوارات الدائمة مع الأديان الأخرى عن شخصية الإمام علي، وما ننطر مناسبات عديدة لحتى نضطر لبعض الأئمة عليهم السلام. فينا نحن نعمل على مدار السنة ندوات كي لحتى نضطر لسيرة الأئمة وتكون القصة بشكل أوضح أكثر من هيك، ويكون في شخصيات. طبعا نحن نحترم كل الشخصيات اللي لنا، ولكن يكون في شخصيات أخرى من غير الديانات الأخرى لحتى نعرف عن شخصية الإمام علي، لحتى ما تضل الحوارات محصورة فيما بيننا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله. أعطيني المايك. السلام عليكم. صلى على محمد وعلى محمد. كلام مهم جدا. الإمام علي عليه السلام هو للإنسانية كلها، كما الإسلام أيضا هو للإنسان بشكل عام. نحن صحيح أننا نتحدث عن الإمام علي وعن شخصية الإمام علي، عن مواقف الإمام علي وحياة الإمام علي كثيرا، وربما 90% من الشيعة حافظينها غيبا. لكن المشكلة في تسليط الضوء على مواقف الإمام علي لتكون منارا لنا في حياتنا نستطيع نحن أن ننفذها في هذا اليوم وفي هذا الزمان. تنقصنا نحن المبادئ العملية أو الأسس العملية لتطبيق عدالة الإمام علي عليه السلام التي تحدث عنها، لتطبيق أفكار ونظريات الإمام علي عليه السلام في مواقفه. نحن بالنسبة لنا كمذهب معروف أننا ننفتح على جميع الناس وننفتح على كل المذاهب والأديان، ولا نأبى أن نجاوب أو نشارك بأي شيء يمكن أن يعطي المعلومات الحقيقية والصحيحة عن الإمام علي أو عن أهل البيت عليهم أفضل الصلاة والسلام. نحن حاولنا منذ 3 سنوات، أنا صار لي هون الآن تقريبا، حاولنا أن يكون هناك حوار إسلامي شيعي مثلا سني أو إسلامي غير إسلامي من ضمن الندوات التي عملناها خلال في مولد النبي صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم صل على محمد. من أول سنة الحمد لله جئنا بها، كان عندنا ندوة شارك فيها عالم يهودي وعالم مسيحي. في السنة الثانية أيضا جئنا بأحد الشخصيات العلمية الذي دخل الإسلام بسبب أيضا وثيقة النبي صلى الله عليه وآله لأهل المدينة، وحاضر هنا. هذه السنة ما استطعنا باعتبار كان الكوفيد 19 يعني أثر علينا كثيرا، ونحن الآن من خلال هذه السنة دخلنا على باب القضاء من خلال الأستاذ القاضي سعادة القاضي سالم، وإن شاء الله بعد بكرة عندنا الأب بولس موسى سيكون له ندوة أيضا حول إنسانية الإمام علي عليه السلام. نعم، فنحن إن شاء الله، لا عفوا، هذه أكيد نصيحة جميلة جدا ونقطة مهمة أن نستمر في هذه الحوارات. طبعا لما بده يكون عندنا ناس مهتمين في هذه المسائل بالتأكيد نحن سنستمر، وإن شاء الله سترون في مؤسسة إمام الكثير والعديد من هذه الندوات التي تسلط الضوء على حياة الأئمة وخصوصا الإمام علي عليه السلام. شكرا لكم. حياكم. I have a question right now before I give the mic for the judge. سعادة القاضي, يعني in the time of Imam Ali alayhi salam, the Muslim community, they refused or they deny the justice of Imam Ali alayhi salam, and they fighted him. They don't want him to be the ruler. If Imam Ali alayhi salam come in this time, in our time, we will welcome him, or the politicians will welcome him, or also they will refuse him.
Let me characterize this a little bit differently.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. If I can rephrase this, I don't believe the people did not want Imam Ali's justice or fought or objected or resisted Imam Ali's justice. I think the people wanted his justice. And if I can take that period of time and bring it to today, يعني خلينا نقول ما أشبه الأمس باليوم أو ما أشبه اليوم بالأمس. These factors, these worldly objectives and personal agendas, and the temptations, the money, the prestige, the privileges that other people were able to give to the commons, swayed the commons and influenced the commons in order to say, no, we want, and the nobles, the people who had influence, they started this revolt against Imam Ali because they could not stand a person with pure justice, a person who is not influenced by the worldly temptations, a person who was pure and his only objective was to please God and to obey God and to basically spread the word of God and the teachings of God of justice, fairness, equality, and impartiality. So if this world today is basically offering, as we were speaking about Sharia law before and stuff, the media has a lot of influence on people, and unfortunately the people who loves the worldly temptation and loves the worldly gains, if you will, are going to object Imam Ali now as they objected to him then. And if I can draw an analogy, when الإمام الحسين عليه السلام وصل إلى أرض العراق والتقى الشاعر الفرزدق وسألوا ما حال الناس في العراق، قال له إن قلوبهم معك لكن سيوفهم عليك، أغراهم اليزيد بالمال. وهذا ما نلحظه في هذا العصر وفي عصر الإمام علي عليه السلام، لأنه الناس اللي بيحبوا يعني مفاخر الدنيا ومباهج الدنيا والحياة الرغيدة في الدنيا، على حساب الآخرة، طبعا هن الأكترية، وفي طبعا ناس كتير بيشجعوهم، لأنه الإمام علي عليه السلام وقت اللي إجا بده يعامل العامة كما بده يعامل النبلاء. النبلاء يعني ما راح يقبلوا بهذا الوضع، والنبلاء هن عندهم سلطة وسطوة وتأثير على العامة اللي هن بيشتغلوا معهم وبيشتغلوا عندهم. فهيك صار في تجمع معادي للإمام علي عليه السلام، وكما يعني قتل الرسل. وهذا يعني هذه سيرة الخلق من جدنا آدم لليوم، انه هذا الصراع الازلي بين الشر والخير وبين الجيد والسيء يعني مستمر.
احنا بنضل ادعيتنا بنقول عن الامام المهدي عجل الله فرجه، انه عجل الله فرجه ونحن منتظرينه. انا بقول انه هو منتظرنا لحتى نغير ليجي، والا اذا بنضل هيك مش رح يجي.
احسنت طبعا. عندك سؤال؟
السلام عليكم حضرة القاضي.
عليكم السلام والإكرام.
My question is actually simple, but it's that what if a jury is wrong when they come to a conclusion?
What was the question? I'm sorry.
In the United States court.
Yes, if we have a jury trial, yes, and the jury verdict is wrong.
Yeah.
Is that your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to know what that.
Well, if the jury verdict is final, of course, it's final. If you know, but there's always an appeal recourse. People can appeal, but they cannot appeal per se the jury verdict. But if the judge commits an error of law by allowing certain evidence that the judge should not have allowed, or by preventing the defense from presenting certain evidence that he should, those are appealable issues. And then if there is an instance where the judge commits a judicial error, it may be reversed on appeal. But the jury, as you know, the jury system, the jury is people from ordinary walks of life. They come in and they are instructed on the law, and they debate the facts. They apply the facts to the law, and then they come out with a verdict. But if there is an error of law that is an irreversible error of law, then the party aggrieved by the verdict can appeal it.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
More question?
I have a question. No, you can go. Sure, go for it.
Alaykum salam.
So we see before, like in history, that when religion is mixed with law, it causes catastrophes. Like, for example, in Europe, when Christianity was mixed with law, people were persecuted unjustly. So do you think nowadays that we can mix Islamic religion with law, or is there no chance of that happening?
Actually, Islamic religion is law. And I believe that all other religions are law, not purely law, but they are laws. They are tenets that people follow. For example, stealing, theft, killing, betraying, any of those prohibited actions, they are basically premised and they are anchored in religion. And then they were taken. But I think what you're talking about is the separation of church and state. As you know, that in the United States, we have a system of government that is probably the best system in the world as far as separation of powers, because you need the checks and balances. You need separation of powers, and the real separation is not between religion and politics, because politics is religion and religion is politics in many cases and in many aspects. But the separation between the legislative branch of government, the executive branch of government, and the judicial branch of government is really where it counts. Because if one of these branches overpowers the other branches, then you'll have tyranny, you'll have dictatorship, you won't have democracy. But so long as these three branches of government are separate and distinct and they are equal, they are sovereign and independent of each other, but they work together, then that's when you'll have democracy, because there are checks and balances. And if any branch of government is not doing what they are supposed to do, then they go to the judicial branch to basically dictate to them what they need to do to apply the law. But I don't see a mix between religion and politics, because most politics are originated in religion, and basically the tenets of a human life, especially in the Islamic faith. The Quran is not only a religion, it's also a life. It's life rules. The Quran talks about everything, from the way you salute other people, from the way you treat other people, from the way you sleep, the way you eat, the way you clean. It's a complete, if you will, roadmap to a happy life. Talks about inheritance, talks about marriage, talks about everything. So everything that you do on a daily basis, there is a legislation in the Quran that governs that. And if people follow that, then we wouldn't have many of the ailments that we have today. And I'm sure it is the same in the other religions.
Matter of fact, just to follow up on this, second, I can correct me on the verse. There's even a verse in the Quran says exactly what you just said, Judge. ما لهذا القرآن لا يترك صغيرة ولا
إلا وأحصاها. Yeah, صحيح.
Thanks so
Yeah,
much.
you're welcome.
My question was, Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
My question is kind of two quick questions. One, if you can share your experience of why you wanted to become a judge as a male, as an Arab, as a Muslim, as a lover of Ahlul Bayt. And my second question is, if maybe you can share a moment during maybe you becoming a judge or during your campaign where there was a conflict of interest in a Islamic value that you had, or a moral that you held tightly, and maybe how you overcame that as a Muslim.
Okay. To answer your first question, of course, my first job here in the United States, I came to the United States when I was 15 years of age. And my first job was a police community liaison with the Dearborn Police Department. And I became a very close friend with a police sergeant. His name is Dale Ostertag. And we used to discuss many issues and many subjects. And he was going to law school at the time, and he encouraged me to go to law school and to become a lawyer in order to, if you feel in yourself an advocacy, and if you feel that you want to represent people and you want to, protect and uphold their rights, law is probably the best way to do that. And then that's exactly what I did. And I became a lawyer, and it becomes natural with every lawyer after X number of years of practice. I practiced for 25 years, is to aspire to become a judge, as basically the last phase of any legal career is a judicialship. So I decided to run for a judge, and the community came around with a lot of support. And when I say the community, I'm talking about the entire Dearborn community. In fact, in my election, I was fortunate enough to probably get more non-Arab votes than Arab votes. Although I got 80% or better of the Arab American votes, but obviously the non-Arab vote was the greater number of votes at the time. I ran against an incumbent judge who had already been a judge for a number of years. And I believe that I ended up with about 18,500 votes, and he ended up with 14,000 votes. And out of my 18,500, I think I had better than 10,000 non-Arab votes. So, and this is a testament to the American people. And this is a testament because they approach things with open minds. And if they see a qualified person, if they see a person that will be able to do the job and is more qualified to do the job, they do not stop at ethnicity and race and all the other things. And they just vote because they believe that they have a qualified candidate who's going to uphold the law. In reference to your second questions, yes, there are certain areas of conflict between my faith and my religion that I hold dear, and certain laws that we have. Conflict in the sense, I will give you an example, same-sex marriages, for example, or Of course, the drinking and driving, we already touched on that. And, in our religion, it's total abstinence. There is no excuse whether you had, one drink or 5 drinks. But in our law here, in our laws, under our laws, there's a legal limit. If you are under, say, 0.08 or 0.07, then you are not considered legally drunk. So in these cases, I cannot apply my religion. I have to apply the law. But my religion gives me the opportunity to do that, because my religion dictates to me that you have to rule and to govern the people by the laws that the people approved. If this is the law that the people want to be governed by, then I, as a judge, I have to apply myself to that law, and I have to uphold that law. I cannot let my religion dictate in those cases. I have to, yes, in a sense, it is a conflict, or it is a disagreement between my religious beliefs and the law. But as a judge, in my personal life, I will apply my religion. But in my professional life, as a judge, I have to apply the law, and I have to abide by the letter of the law. And I cannot legislate. I have to apply what the legislature has come down with and made a law, and the people accept it as a law, and then the sanctions that are attendant to this law. So if a person is, drinks and drives, and they have a blood alcohol level of over 0.08% per 100 milliliters of blood, then they are legally drunk, and I treat them as such. If they are below that level, I cannot hold them liable for anything, even though religiously they are, but legally they're not. And I have to rule by the law, not by the religion.
So was it easy for you to separate that?
Yes, it's easy, because I know that my religion gives me that room to be able to govern the people by the laws that the people chose. And this is what Imam Ali, in his letter to Malik al-Ashtar in 650, he told them that you have the governing people have to consult with the governed in order to be on the same page, and you have to rule with the ultimate objective is to have the justice that is pure and simple, and you cannot take sides. You have to rule based on the case before you, and you have to be just to the people. And if the wrongdoer is a member of your faith, you cannot favor him, and you cannot be not impartial. You're welcome.
وين كنت يا استاذ سليم تخاف الله
حبيبي
السلام عليكم.
حبيبي حاج، في امان الله. شكرا على حضورك حاج. شكرا على حضورك.
Assalamu alaikum. I have another question, if I may.
Yes.
It's related, more or less related to the Islamic law.
Okay.
As a U.S. citizen, sometimes we receive an invitation from a court to come and to be part of the jury. We understand Islamically we have an issue in there, but if we receive this invitation,
Yes.
What shall we do? What's our duty? Shall we?
You shall report and serve as a juror. And I will tell you, jury service is perhaps one of the most noble things we ask our citizens to do. And it should not create any conflict with your faith, because as I just indicated, the same, when you are a juror, basically you are a judge. Basically you are standing in a judge's shoes, because you are listening to the evidence, you are listening to the facts, and you're going to rule whether a person is guilty or not guilty, or whether a person is right or is not right. So you are in the same position as a judge in that capacity, and you have to do what I just said I do as a judge, because our religion gives us the room and gives us the right, and to govern the people by the law that they saw fit to be governed by. And as a juror, you have to apply that law. And I will tell you, as a judge, I will not excuse someone from jury duty just because he tells me that I'm a Muslim and it's against, if it's against their belief to serve on a jury, I would understand that. But if it is, I'm fearing that there is a conflict between my religion and the jury, I will tell you there is no conflict, because in that capacity, You have to conduct yourself in a professional manner as a judge and say, if I was a judge, how I would rule on this thing. So jury service is something that you can serve on a jury. Now, you can ask a religious scholar. I do not profess to be an imam. I do not profess to know all of the ahkam b'sharia. But as a judge, I will tell you that's what I personally, that's what I would do.
Then just switch the question to the Samahat al-Sheikh.
Yes.
Can we do, or can we attend the jury?
Yes. Yes, we have discussed this issue 10 years ago, and we have special conference scholars about this the subject, and also we went to the court in Detroit. We discussed this with also another judge and attorneys. In the Sharia law, there is no any problem to go for this duty, and it is your right and duty, just not just right and duty. There is no problem, but people, they don't like to go. They give excuse that it is against my Sharia.
As I told you, not to interrupt the Shaykh, but as I told you, I will not excuse someone just because he told
Yes.
me I'm a Muslim and I can't serve on a jury.
Yes, we discussed this. Yes, we tell them there is no any problem to go for this duty.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because let's face it, perhaps 99% of the cases, if not 100%, you are not ruling against the religion. For example, if somebody is accused of fraud, if somebody is accused of stealing, if somebody is accused of assaulting and battering someone, if someone is accused of in a domestic violence, say beating up someone at home, okay, what is the religious prohibition against you listening to the evidence and saying this person is guilty or not guilty? There is none. There is none. I mean, if somebody steals, stealing is prohibited by our religion. Drinking and driving is. Assaulting and battering someone is. Committing fraud is. Basically not paying someone's debt. It's all, like I said a minute ago, most of the issues that the courts face are premised in religion. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not, do wrong by others. It's all in our religion, in Christianity, in Judaism. It's all there. And 99%, if not 100% of the cases that the courts have deal with these issues, is to right wrongs in society. If someone does wrong in society, to do right.
عفوا، نحن ايضا وضحنا لجماعه هذا الموضوع انه كثير من الناس بيشكوا من المحكمه، كنت احكي بالعربي هلا، كثير من الناس بيشكوا انه المحكمه حكمت ضدنا لانه عنصريين، انه الدوتي مثلا او الجوري مش مسلمين او بيض او كذا. نحن لما ما بنروح على هذه المواقف عم نعطيهم فرصه هن يحكموا علينا. ليش نحن لما عم ندعى من قبل المحكمة ليش ما منروح ومنشوف شو هي العدالة، شلون عم يحكموا، شلون عم يسووا، ما نعطي الفرصة للآخرين انه يحكموا علينا باعتبارهم بيض مثلا او باعتبارهم عنصريين او المسائل. فهذه فرصة نحن حتى نقوم بهالواجب ونعبي الفراغ والمكان اللي نحن المفروض نكون موجودين فيه ان شاء الله. احسنت. المحاكم هون نعم
مع احترامي بس نحن بننظر للامور دائما انه بدنا المسائل كلها لمصلحتنا نحن، يعني بدنا الشيء اللي ما بيناسبنا يعني يكون
بعد في اسئله؟
Yes. Sure.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. I wanted to thank everybody. Bismillah. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل I wanted to thank everyone for coming today, for having this engaged discussion. I wanted to thank Judge Sam Salame. Thank you. I wanted to especially thank Judge Salim Salame on his presentation, on enlightening us with his words of wisdom, and for his passion and his honesty and his raw answers. I thank you, Judge, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, Samahat al-Sheikh. Thank you, everyone, for attending. I just want to give a quick reminder, inshallah, our event will continue tomorrow in person as well as live. Tomorrow, inshallah, May 3rd, 5:30, same place. We will be having journalist Sister Ikram and Dr. May at 5:30. And inshallah on Tuesday at 5:30 as well, we will be having Father Bolus Musa. He'll be talking on the topic of Imam Ali alayhi salam as an exemplary figure in the Islamic era. I want to thank you all again for attending. Please keep us in your prayers and your du'ats during the nights of power. Please stay safe. May Allah, the Almighty, bless you and your family. Please help me conclude today's program with Allah's salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.